Leadership matters, but sometimes we make it harder than it needs to be. Let's talk again about a simple change that you and I could make that makes a big difference right away. I'm D. Hicks, and I'm with the HILT Academy, High Impact Leadership Training. Thanks for taking a little bit of time so I can share with you an idea that has been really helpful for me, something I borrowed from a really smart guy a while ago. Let's start by talking about your caller ID. Do you have any people on your caller ID and your contacts that when they call, you don't really want to answer the phone? You see it and you go, because they're just so depressing to talk to. It's like you can even feel it as soon as their name and number shows up on your phone. You can feel gravity turned up under you just a little bit. Oh, wow, it's going to be one of those kind of conversations. Or you see an email even from them. You think, you can almost feel it kind of sucking the life out of you. It's like they're going to talk like this. And no matter what you say, no matter how you interact with them, they're going to find the negative in any given situation. We've actually done quite a bit of work in our own enterprises and then studying others around the effect that these negative people have on folks around them. And we ran across a guy a few years ago by the name of Martin Seligman. You've probably heard about him. Pause right now, go out and look up the guy, come back. Martin Seligman has a book he wrote several years ago called Learned Optimism. And in it, in part, in this book, he talks about a thing called an explanatory style. Our explanatory style is how we explain to ourselves and then to other people the pain of life. So think about that. You've had something mildly painful probably happen today, something mildly disappointing occur today with you, or maybe you're in the middle of something significantly disappointing. How do you explain it? How do you talk about it to yourself, and how do you talk about it to other people? Seligman talks about the fact that you and I could fall on kind of a spectrum between two different explanatory styles, and we'll sort of have that as a default. These folks I was just talking about, when they call you and you see your caller ID and you go, have a certain type of explanatory style. Let's get all science-y here, okay? One of these explanatory styles I want you to think of like Eeyore, okay? We're all gonna die, right? And the other explanatory style I want you to think about like Tigger. Tops are made out of rubber, bottoms are made out of springs. They're bouncy, wonderful things. All right, think of those two characters from social science and think about the explanatory styles that the two of those wonderful characters have got. One of them, when faced with difficulty of any sort, will talk about how bad it is, and the other will talk about what an opportunity it is. Seligman had wonderful insight that I think will help you and I as leaders or managers or supervisors or influencers of people when he suggested that we can actually learn to have an explanatory style that is more freeing than what some of us naturally have got. So he used the two terms. He didn't talk about Tigger and Eeyore. He's much smarter than that. I did that. But he talked about a pessimist and an optimist. And no, there's not a third one in the middle called a realist. A realist is just an educated pessimist, okay? So the pessimist and the optimist alike face difficulty, and they answer the same three questions. You and I alike, when we encounter something disappointing or difficult or even tragic, really answer the same three questions. The first question we answer is, how big is this? The second question is, how bad is this? And the third, how long is this going to last? How big, how bad, how long? Scope, impact, duration. So in part, we come to understand that an explanatory style really is about how we answer those three questions, how big, how bad, how long. Is this pain and this difficulty going to last, in a couple of different ways? The pessimist, when faced with something difficult, says that it is really big, really bad, and it's going to last forever. On the way to work, the pessimist gets a flat tire, is running a little bit late already, and the pessimist will go, oh no, I have a flat tire. The other four are going to be flat too. I'm going to be late for work. They're going to be mad at me. They're going to give me all the bad assignments. I won't do well at the bad assignments, and I'll be seen as somebody who's an underperformer, so they'll give me worse assignments. And then they're going to fire me, and then I'm going to be living in a van down by the river on a diet of government cheese. That is a pessimist. And they do that in a nanosecond. In a third of the time it took for me to actually say it, that's where they go. So you see how they wove in there together, how big, how bad, how long, all in one fell swoop. And they're very well trained and skilled at thinking like that whenever something is difficult. You can hear people in the narrative that they give you about when bad things happen to them, why they happen. And it's going to happen again. Sometimes they even go so far as to say, well, you know, bad things come in threes. To which I often say, well, of course they do, because your counter only goes up to 3 and then you reset it. So, of course, difficulty is going to happen all the time. What about the optimist with those same 3 questions? Flat tire on the way to work. The optimist goes, damn it, got a flat tire, gonna be late. I better call ahead and tell them I'm going to be late. It's going to mess up the day. Period. That's it. The optimist might also think, well, you know, I've been meaning to get new tires. This is just now the chance. All right, this is just going to motivate me to get new tires all the way around. I got to go do it. Now is an opportunity for the optimist. The optimist actually answers all 3 questions that the pessimist answers, but answers them differently. The optimist says, how big a deal is this? Well, it's this big, but it could have been bigger. How bad is this? Oh, maybe this is bad, but it could have been worse. How long is this going to last? Well, it's probably going to take a few hours out of my day, but it could have taken a lot more hours. Or even with something really tragic. How big? Wow, this is big. But at least it wasn't that. How bad? This is going to hurt like hell. This is going to hurt a lot. It's going to be a scar on my life for a long time. That's how bad it is. But could have been worse. How long? Wow, I'm going to have to deal with this for 15 years, but not 16 years. Isn't that amazing? See the difference between those two? Now, Seligman's thesis, which we have tested and learned and tried to experience as leaders, is that you and I learn to be optimists. Now, some of us were fortunate enough to learn that at a very early age. Typically, we learn our explanatory style from our mother. If your mother hovered around you and every time you tripped and fell, it was a dramatic response to everything. Oh, everything is awful. And she had a big dramatic response to everything. You probably learned to be a pessimist in your explanatory style. If your mother was like my mother, a kind of, hey, rub dirt on it, you'll be fine kind of mother, you learned at an early age how to be an optimist. Either way, you can still, at your wonderful, mature, ripe, wise age, learn to be an optimist. But why should you? Why should you? The optimistic leader is the one who creates the future. The pessimistic leader is the one who keeps it the way it was. This is one of the most powerful lessons that I've learned over my years as a leader. Therefore, to learn to be an optimist means that you learn that you have got levers you can pull and that the future is not just set up on rails for you, that you can actually create a different future for the enterprise that you're a part of, for a part of society, for massive social changes that need to take place, for your children. If you are an optimistic leader, you get to create the future. That's why I'm saying to you that I'm going to invite you to learn to be an optimist. Okay, how do you do it? How do you learn to be an optimist? First of all, notice your explanatory style now. Study yourself for a week or two. Because there's going to be stuff that'll happen in the next week or two that'll reveal your explanatory style. There'll be disappointments of some sort, just how it works. You thought it was going to be a sunny day and it rains. How do you explain that to yourself? We're all going to die. It's raining sideways. My ears are full. I'm tired of government cheese. Right? That kind of thing. Notice yourself. So step one, study yourself. And then step two, actually listen to and study optimists. They're not Pollyanna. They're realistic just like everyone else, but listen to how they think. Listen to how they explain similar situations. Just notice the difference between the two explanatory styles, and then take this next step. When something disappointing happens to you, pick the optimistic explanation. It'll feel awkward if you have been trained and skilled at being Eeyore. It'll feel awkward. It'll even feel fake for you for a while if you pick the optimistic explanation. My tire is flat, but the other three are still working, like that. If you pick that, yes, I'm going to be late. Yes, somebody's going to be irritated, but they'll get over it. That's the optimistic style. If that's awkward for you, just practice it for a while. Practice it for a while. After a day or two, it won't take long, you will start getting more and more comfortable with that. You'll notice the pessimistic explanatory style and how they tend to try to keep things the same or smaller. You'll notice the optimistic explanatory style, how that person tends to like to grow things and pivot and take risks and take chances and make things work. They actually create the future, like I said a while ago. You will like that a lot more if you just practice it a little bit, just a little bit. Practice that explanatory style that says, yeah, but that, and pick out the optimistic side just a little bit. There's a part of our brain that likes that, by the way, and there's a neurochemical that our brain thrives on when we go to the optimistic side. That neurochemical is called dopamine. If you walk up to someone and say, guess what? 3, 2, 1, you have their attention. You just gave them a shot of dopamine in their brain. They lean in, they go, what? As long as the guess what is of an optimistic tone, then they do not have adrenaline and they do not have cortisol that goes into their system as well. If it's just guess what, I have a surprise for you, and it's optimistic, it's fun, it's positive, then they get just the dopamine shot. And dopamine is an amazing thing. Dopamine has the same effect on your brain as this does. Are you ready? You with me? Pay attention now. Right now I'm going to do something. I'm going to give you a shot of dopamine. Here it is. Bam, right there. You got a shot of dopamine. Because your brain went, finish it, finish it. That little shot of dopamine. If that didn't work, back it up, watch it again. That little shot of dopamine, it pales in comparison to the shot of dopamine you get when you teach yourself to be optimistic. So this isn't just about mood. This isn't just about how you feel or how you're making other people feel. It really isn't about that. It's about the reality that optimistic leaders create the future. And if we leave our future up to the pessimists, then we'll stay in the systemic problems that we're in right now. Our economy will work exactly the same. Our society will work exactly the same. The ideas that others have will be stomped down. Your company, your organization, your enterprise, your family will work exactly the same as it does right now, or slightly worse. It's the optimists who are in charge of the future, and you can learn to be an optimist. So hopefully you're not the kind of person who, when you call someone and they see you on their caller ID, that they go click and put it back in their pocket. Have you ever done that, by the way? Have you ever seen someone across the way and you know they don't see you? It's a dirty trick. It's a rotten trick, but it's fun. It's fun. It's just part of that. Call them, have them look at their caller ID and see if they hang up and put their phone back in the pocket. It's a little bit of a risk. It's a bit of a risk. If you're a bit of a pessimist, that's probably what they will do. If you're an optimist and they know it, they'll probably go, oh, you're calling, and they'll answer the phone. I apologize to those of you who have called me in the last couple of weeks, and I have not returned your call. I didn't actually just hang up on you when you call. It's been rather hectic and busy. So You know what? I really appreciate you, and you're doing really good work. Keep up the good work. Share this with someone who you think might enjoy it and might benefit from it. If you like it, hit that like button. And if you want to see more of this stuff, hit the subscribe and hit the bell, and we'll let you know when all that stuff comes out. Hey, I appreciate you. Keep up the good work. Here's to you.